We want to thank our sponsor, brokersrealty.com of Stroudsburg. They bring us to you every week, and we get to have a fun time talking about all different kinds of wonderful topics. Tonight, we're talking about jewelry. It just so happens that my cousin Sarah over there is a jeweler. She absolutely has expertise in the field, and we decided it was time to sit down and talk about our jewelry, how to take care of it, how to maintain it, how to make it last longer, how to make it sparkle a little bit more. Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
Hi, Holly. I am doing very well. Yes, I think that a lot of people don't realize all of the hats that I have worn in
Mhm.
my lifetime. And the first one that I ever wore was as a jeweler. I was trained as a jeweler with Zales Jewelry back in the day. And from there, I was trained to know all of the gems and all about jewelry so that I could manage stores for them, which I did. And then I went on to work for Macy's to teach people how to sell jewelry. And since then, I've worked for private jewelers along the way, some that specialized in um, all kinds of vintage jewelry, um, high-end jewelry stores, not only in upstate New York where I grew up, but here in Stroudsburg. So we were talking one day about the new upswing in people wearing pearls. And I said,
Mhm.
well, why don't we talk about the care of jewelry? Because I think it is something that's a little daunting for people.
Well, I think people, you get jewelry in all different fashions. People buy you jewelry as presents. You
Right.
inherit jewelry, and you buy yourself jewelry. So there's all different ways that you can get jewelry into your life, and you don't necessarily know how to take care of it when it
Well,
falls in your lap.
so we're going to talk a little bit about the care of jewelry, whether it's real jewelry or if it's costume jewelry. But I think the biggest thing that everyone needs to do if you have jewelry and you want to keep it clean is go out and buy a bottle of Dawn dishwashing liquid. One little drip of dishwashing liquid in a bowl of water with a really soft toothbrush will clean most of your jewelry. Anything more than that, you should really be going to the local jeweler and having your pieces either steam cleaned or let them show you how to clean them, because there are stones, and Holly has a beautiful opal ring there.
I do. I don't
Opals,
know if you guys can see it. I'll try to get it around the
well, and that's a combination of opal and pearl.
and pearl. It's an antique ring, very
Each
antique ring.
opal has a basket mounting. I would say it's probably 14 karat gold,
Mm-hmm.
um, white gold. So
Yeah,
white gold has a tendency to
really pretty if you can
sometimes
see
turn
it.
a little bit yellowish. And the reason that is it happens is that all gold is gold when it comes out of the ground. It doesn't come out of the ground white. So all gold is yellow when it's first mined. To make white gold, it's a mixture of a white metal, usually nickel, along with gold. So it would be 14 parts gold and 10 parts of another metal. But for yellow gold, they may use copper or, another filling metal because they want to make it hard, because gold is soft.
Mm-hmm.
White gold, usually they use nickel to make it white. But every now and then it needs to be buffed or cleaned so that yellowish tint will go away and make it white again.
Gotcha. I did not
So
know that. So it's 14%. So that means it's 14 karat.
it's 14 parts. So all
Okay.
gold is 24 karat. Think
Okay.
24 carats. So
Okay.
14 parts gold is gold and 10 parts is another metal. 18
Okay.
karat is 18 parts gold and the rest another metal.
Mm-hmm.
10 karat, 10 parts gold, 14 parts of another metal. So
Okay.
10 karat is the lowest caratage in the United States that you can sell as gold.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes total sense. There's
Mm-hmm.
something I did not know. Now, gold is often paired with other things. So you get your gold ring with your diamond in it. You get your
Right.
gold ring with a pearl in it. You get your gold ring with an amethyst in it. how do you care for the ring part versus the gem part?
So every now and then you can take it to the local jeweler and have it buffed. That'll take out all the scratches. It'll make it really yellow, or it'll make it really white, and they will clean it the rest of the way. If you want to just take care of it while, on a day-to-day basis, again, Dawn dishwashing liquid, this right here, one drip of it in water with a soft toothbrush will usually clean anything that you have, whether it's pearls, whether it's opal. Those are the two that I would worry about the most. Turquoise is another one that you have to be really careful with, because sometimes it's dyed and it will lose its color.
So that really blue could be dye.
It could be.
Okay.
So you have to kind of think about all of those things when you're going to clean your jewelry. And sorry, Oscar is saying hello to everyone.
Yes, he is.
With his big loud bark. But you have to make sure that you have a really soft toothbrush. Pearls require a little more care. And the reason that they require a little more care is that pearls are a natural organic substance. They are made in an oyster or a mollusk, and they usually are started by an irritant. So in nature, it would be a piece of sand. And if they are being farmed, or if they are cultured, it's a little bead that's put in the mollusk, and then they do what they do, which is basically it's their buildup of like a spit that they keep building up around that irritant that turns into a pearl. And when you wear them, you should not wear perfume on your neck. Like if you're wearing them on your skin, you shouldn't wear perfume on your neck, because that can actually seep into the pearl itself and damage the coating, which is called nacre, on your pearl. The thicker the nacre, the better and more expensive the pearl.
So basically, if you have a chemical or a lotion or a cosmetic touching, you're actually starting to take the layers that the oyster built up off.
Well, it's seeping into those layers, and it can take it off. It can make them shine if you take care of them. Another thing that people do is they store them in plastic bags. And that is the worst thing you can do to a pearl, because it actually needs to breathe. And the same with opals. Those two are the ones that I worry most about, because you need to really understand them. There used to be a wives' tale with opals that if you put oil on it, that it would make it shine. But what it does is it makes it start to get really dull. If you feel like your opal is kind of dry, because they do dry out, you should soak it in distilled water. The water will soak back into the stone, and it will bring out a lot of the brilliance of the opal. And to clean around it, again, soft toothbrush, little drip of water, and you're good to go.
So back to pearls, because pearls are getting
pearls are a thing.
They're a thing right now. They're very popular right now. Real pearls, fake pearls. How do you know what you got?
So real pearls, strangely enough, I have a strand here. If you rub the real pearl on your tooth, it feels gritty.
Okay.
Pearl feels really smooth. My suggestion is, if you really want to tell the difference, take pearls that you know are real versus ones that are not. And once you rub them on your teeth, you will never forget the feeling, because the really gritty feeling on your tooth, almost like an emery board.
Like sandpaper, like rubbing sandpaper.
Emery board. But a fake pearl is just really a bead that's been coated with a smooth, coating to make it look like a pearl. But they can be actually cleaned the same way. The other thing with pearls, some people have them strung without knots, like this one is strung without knots, but sometimes they have a knot in between. Pearls are usually strung on real pearls.
Mine have knots in between.
Okay, so what happens is that as you wear them, if you wear them a lot, those knots start to stretch, and you'll start to see a lot of play between your beads, because they're usually strung on silk.
I have to be completely honest and say
You
the
don't
last
wear
time I wore these pearls was my wedding.
Well, see,
That was over 20 years ago. So they've been in a jewelry box ever since, just being sad and lonely.
I have my something to say cup today.
Ooh, yes. We do have a bunch of them too. So if you have, if you start commenting on it, on the show tonight, asking questions, maybe you'll win a cup.
So what I was going to say about the pearls is that that string will rot.
Okay.
So you might go to put them on. You might not have worn them, but you probably should get them restrung if it's been that long, because that string begins to rot because it's silk. And if it rots, you're going to be wearing them, and all of a sudden your pearls are going to be everywhere. The wonderful thing about them being knotted is that you'll probably only lose one or two. But
because it would slide off and the others would stay where they are.
Right. So, that's the reason for the knotting, but it's usually about $1 or $1.50 an inch to string with knots. And it's, I actually have done it for the jewelry stores that I've worked in. It's not a hard process. It's just, it takes about a week to get them done.
Well, I have these, which they're not my favorite thing. These were something that were given to me a really long time ago, and they've also sat in a box, not because they're too fancy. It's because I really don't like them, to be completely honest. They're seed pearls. So what's the difference between this kind of pearl and the pretty round ones?
Well, they probably were made to be like that. So, that's a freshwater pearl, and freshwater pearls come in all different shapes.
Okay.
This strand that I have is also freshwater, but it looks more
uniform,
conforming. Right. It's not, but I like the length of this because you can double it up, and you can do, whatever you would like. This is not an expensive strand of pearls. Pearls, a lot of people don't realize that pearls can be very inexpensive, even though they're real. But they've not been in the oyster a really long time.
I have to say, one of the funnest things I ever did, what jewelry wise, when you're talking about jewelry things, is I did go on a trip to Disney World with my very good friend Ruth Longo and her family.
Right.
And to commemorate the trip, her two daughters, myself, and her, we went to the Japanese pavilion where they allowed you to pick your oyster. And they shucked it and pulled the pearl out. And then my pearl got put into a cage that looked like Cinderella's.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah. So I have that in a sterling silver. And that pearl I loved. Like, I loved getting that because it was a trip. I got the pearl. It was with friends. It's just one of my favorite pieces of jewelry, even though it's not a super fancy, super expensive piece of jewelry. I really enjoyed the whole process, because
pearls can come in all different colors. People don't realize that they don't have to be white. They can be black, they can be blue, they can be pink, yellow. They come in all different colors, and shapes and sizes. And, pearls have a life of their own, and they are graded just like diamonds by GIA. If they're a high quality South Sea pearl, they can be graded just like a diamond. So, they are very fascinating to me because of all of the uniqueness of pearls. And they also, I love them as an accessory because you can wear them with denim. You can wear them like I can wear them with this turtleneck. You can do all kinds of things with them. So I think they're very cool, and they are very sentimental because of their uniqueness. Now with that, I would suggest taking that strand,
my big long strand,
your big long strand, and
it already has a knot in it because I put it in.
Yep, and doubling it up.
Okay.
And twisting it and making it into some sort of a bracelet. Yeah, there you go. And they make little like round oval things that you can either buy at the jewelry store that clip
Mhm.
around and turn
Yeah,
it into a bracelet.
that's what it would look like, right?
Or I would, if it were me, I would take like a silk ribbon and tie a bow
Okay.
around and just use it. Or you could do that with a necklace too. Like if you twisted it just a couple of times and
Hmm.
put a bow on it, you
Yeah,
could
I
turn.
think if the long way, if it's twisted, it's still about this long.
So maybe you could make it three,
Mhm.
do three.
Yeah, yeah, it's still about that long.
Mm-hmm.
It really twisted up, so it's still. I mean, so I guess it's a pretty versatile piece of jewelry considering.
It is. And I mean, if you had it restrung with a clasp, it would probably make
Yeah,
it more
it,
versatile.
it never
And
had a clasp, so.
so what a lot of people also don't realize is that you can actually take that and refashion it. Or you can take, say you're no longer married and you have a diamond and
Mhm.
you love the diamond, but you don't want to wear an engagement ring anymore. You can take it to the jeweler and have another piece of jewelry fashioned out of that, whether it's a cocktail ring or a necklace
Mhm.
or put it in a braid, whatever it is that you might wear.
Because they can
You
take it out of the setting that it's in, melt
right,
that setting down, and make something completely different out of it.
right. And you can either use that gold that they're melting down or platinum or whatever it's
Mhm.
in. You can actually have that put into your ring as part of whatever you're fashioning,
Mhm.
or you can just ask them to give you the money back on whatever mounting you're
Mhm.
using,
Right.
because they can weigh it and give you scrap weight on it.
Mhm.
But you don't have to be stuck with jewelry that you're not going to wear because it has a bad memory or you don't like the style or you bought
Mhm.
it in 1980 and it's not in fashion anymore.
Well, here's a big question because a lot of us have it, and I find it very hard to maintain. What's the super secret to keeping silver clean? Because I have tried like all of it, and those clothy things don't seem to do
Mm-hmm.
anything to me for me. Like it doesn't make it. How do you get your silver jewelry back to what it looked like when you bought it?
So there's a couple things that you can do. You can take it again and get it steam cleaned at the
Mhm.
jewelry store, or you can get those little wet cloths,
Mhm.
and I find those to work the best for me. You can
Okay.
use pasty stuff, but that pasty stuff is like, if it's an intricate piece, you're going to have this pink pasty stuff stuck into it,
Mhm.
and if you aren't careful, you can really um, it, it just ruined the piece because it's, and I've seen people try to clean their own jewelry, like they buy the stuff and they say, oh, I just dropped it in there and left it overnight, and it's like, you've got to buff it down so that it takes off that coating,
Mhm.
because some of the cleaners that they sell you are not good for jewelry.
So
Don't buy
it's a silver cleaning cloth that's wet, like a wet
it.
wipe.
It's like a wet wipe. You could, I mean, I buy them at the store, at the grocery store. They're in the
Okay.
supplies. They come in a little tub. They have a little, they're just like a wet wipe, but they're made
Mhm.
for silver and you can wipe them. But what I would suggest doing is buying a silver safe. And QVC actually sells them, where they
Okay.
have like, they're made to keep your silver in. And I have stored my silver in them for years and take it out and it's silver. It doesn't tarnish.
Okay.
So that's that if you like silver, and I love silver. I mean, that's my favorite
Because
to wear.
the tarnish on it comes from the silver being exposed to the air,
Air.
right?
Mhm. So and it turns kind of brownish, and sometimes it's really hard to get rid of that.
It's so hard on some of them. I have a couple pieces that I'd really like to wear, but I just
Mhm.
absolutely can't get them clean.
And that's really, I mean, you can all, but what I always suggest doing, even if you're using something like that, is after you do that, take your little drip of Dawn dishwashing liquid
Hmm.
and soap, water, take
Hmm.
your brush and wash that off
Okay.
and dry it with a really soft cloth,
Okay.
because I don't like leaving residue on jewelry. I think it's not good for it.
Okay.
So, it will take the tarnish off, but then wash it off. And actually silver, the more you wear it, the less
I
it's
know.
going
I know.
to
I went through like a phase where I bought a lot of it. So I have like a
Mhm.
decent amount. Like you can't wear it all
Mhm.
that often. So
Mhm.
then it got tarnished. Then I couldn't get it clean. Now I don't wear it at all.
Mhm.
So that's the phase I'm in now. I just don't wear it at all. I mean, I have a couple pieces from Tiffany's that are sterling silver that are really pretty that my husband got me, and they're still in pretty good condition because I keep them in the cloth
The back.
Tiffany bags that they come in. But I do have other pieces that are like hanging on a rack that
and they will just you'll look at them and go, what? So what I suggest is that, when we're doing our spring cleaning, we clean our jewelry and then figure out how to store it in a silver safe.
Okay.
And I'm guilty of this too. I'll take my earrings off, I'll lay them, in a dish on my dresser, and then 3 weeks later I look at them and go, oh boy, they really got oxidized in that.
I got into bad habit because COVID happened. I wanted to get my wedding ring and my engagement ring serviced, so to speak. I wanted to get it checked so that, because I have a diamond band and I didn't want to lose any of the diamonds. I wanted my diamond and my engagement ring checked.
An issue.
The whole thing cleaned, and I never got it done because COVID hit, like right when I was going to have it done, and nothing was open, and I couldn't leave it anywhere, and I didn't want to take it anywhere after that because you didn't know when you could get it back. So I have not worn my engagement ring,
which is a good thing,
in almost a year.
So here's and I'm sure that we just came through Valentine's Day, so there's a lot of ladies out there that have gotten engagement rings for Valentine's Day, and they don't know what, they're afraid to wear them or whatever. So here's my suggestion. First of all, you should really get your engagement ring checked every 6 months. If you think that something feels like it's catching, go sooner. Don't wait.
Yeah, because sometimes you feel like the prongs are catching on your clothes or something. That means the prong is.
Well, and after just so long, depending on how much you've worn it and how old it is, you might need a new head on your diamond because you're wearing it every day. You're wearing down that gold. And, after a while, those prongs can only hold their strength for just so long. And then, after a while, either the tip snaps off or whatever, and you need a new head. If it's something that is ornate or your grandmother's ring or something like that, and you don't want it altered because you don't want to remove the head, they can repair the prongs, but then you really need to limit how often you're going to wear it. The worst thing on engagement rings are gloves. If you're putting hand in a glove,
of course we live in the Poconos and it's freezing cold all the time, so you're constantly putting them on and off. Well, not me this year because I'm not wearing my engagement ring, which is it's a real shame because I really love my engagement ring and I love my wedding ring.
It's a really pretty ring. It's emerald cut, right? Emerald cut, square.
Yeah.
So, one of the solutions for putting your hand in a glove is to flip it around to the underside. So when you're putting your hand in the glove, it's not catching on the fingers.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And so not everybody has fine jewelry. Some people have lots of costume jewelry. Now you might, again, it might be antique costume jewelry. It might be new costume jewelry. It might be gifted costume jewelry. It might be something you inherited. How do you care for that? Because that's all different types of material, right?
And you have to be really careful.
Plastic, it could be shell, it could be glass, right? Like there's like a million things it could be, right?
Never put it in jewelry cleaner. It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is.
Okay.
Again, the little bit of dishwashing soap with some, if it's dirty, because it does get dirty, and from wearing it, if you've got dry skin or you've got lotion, it does pick up all that.
You get lotion, you get you could get all kinds of stuff in it. Fibers from your clothes,
Right.
everything. I feel like you get new jewelry.
Right. And so you just have to be really careful about what it is. If you're not sure what it is, first of all, if it's like a vintage piece or you're not sure what you have somebody take a look at it, whether it's somebody that's at an antique shop or whatever. I mean, usually they can decipher what the
Mhm.
difference is.
Gotcha.
You can call me. I'm happy to look at jewelry for people anytime, but that's actually what I love is vintage jewelry. That's my thing. But a lot of people don't know how to care for it. And really a soft toothbrush, a really, really soft toothbrush, just really lightly, just a little scrub and be done. Because, those foil back stones, they can lose all their foil. You just want to make sure that you're not damaging the piece. Sometimes just water, just rinsing it off, take in a little brush wherever, the dirt might be and be done with it and dry it really well.
Um, we do like in our family, we do like antiques.
Yeah.
It's thing. Antique
Hmm.
furniture, antique dinnerware, silverware,
Right.
glassware, jewelry is added in there too. And we don't come from a particularly wealthy family, but everybody had really pretty nice pieces that they loved along the way. And
Hmm.
I know that one of the things that, well, we loved them in the 80s because they kind of had like a resurgence with the kind of dresses and clothes we wore. But my mother has always loved cameos. So
Yeah.
she always had cameos. And
Hmm.
they're beautiful.
So
But tell us a little bit
cameos,
about them.
cameos are also a natural, organic um, piece of jewelry, and I actually have a cameo shell here. A lot of people don't realize that cameos, and I don't know if you can see that or if my light's too
There you go. That's
bright.
good.
Um, maybe if I dim the light on it, is that better?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a cameo that's been carved into the shell, but they didn't cut it out of the shell. So this is the kind of shell that a cameo comes from,
Mhm.
and they're all different things. This one is made in Italy. So, and most fine cameos are cut in Italy by hand, and they aren't always just women. They are. Um, they can be all kinds of scenes. Like I collect cameos, and you can have, you know, scenes of, like I have one of Diana, the goddess Diana
Mhm.
holding her owl, and
Okay.
it's cool. Like it, and the more ornate they are, and the more pictorial they are, the more expensive they are.
Makes
Um,
sense.
Cameos used to be very, very expensive. Then they kind of lost their, people decided they didn't love them anymore. So
Mhm.
they have come down in price. And now I think they're starting to go back up in price because, along with the pearls, the cameos are a great combination with pearl.
Mhm.
But these need to be cared for the same way. You don't want to wear heavy perfume with them because the shell will pick up the smell of
Mhm.
your perfume, and it will denigrate the actual quality of
Mhm.
the cameo,
Mhm.
along with pearls, which we talked about. um they are set usually in 14 karat gold. They usually have seed pearls with them or diamonds. So if you find a cameo and it has like a little chain around its neck with a stone in it,
Mhm.
it's usually a diamond.
Mhm.
So they can be rather valuable, and they are, I think they're very cool. I've also had them on other materials like lava, which they're more of a brown color,
Mhm.
black ones that are mourning jewelry that was worn during the
I
1800s.
was actually going to bring that up. I was going to
Yeah.
talk about it because I know we again we love antiques and all the weirdness of
Hmm.
that comes along with them. But over the millennia, people have done a lot of things with jewelry, and some of it's a little twisted.
Hmm.
I know that obviously the simple black jewelry jet
Hmm.
was mourning jewelry, but people also
Right.
made jewelry out of people's hair
Right.
and bone and
Yeah.
various things over the course of time.
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that hair jewelry because I've seen that in the museum and it kind of freaks me out a little bit.
I have to say, I that is also one of the things that I collect, not
Mhm.
hair jewelry. I like the gutta percha or
Mhm.
jet
Yeah,
jewelry, the
yeah.
black, because they are very unique pieces. They used to make daguerreotype cases for pictures
Mhm.
out of the same black gutta percha that they would make jewelry out of, and they
What is
are
that, Sarah? What is it? Is it a mineral? Is it a
it's like a it's made with oil.
okay?
Other than that, I can't really tell you what the makeup is,
Mhm.
but it is very distinctive. It is also very brittle, so
Mm,
you have to
right.
be really careful if you are going to. Some people wear it. I don't wear it because I'm afraid I'm going to damage it.
Mhm.
Um, I think that it is unique in its appearance. A lot of times they would combine the hair jewelry, the woven hair with the gutta percha. They
Mhm.
would also put the braided hair, like sometimes they would braid it into like flowers and things and put them behind glass, like those glass cases
Mhm.
um, that are a pin. So if you see a pin that has like a glass over it and it
Mhm.
has something in it, more than likely it's someone's hair that had passed away and they
Mhm.
wanted to memorialize the person. It is a little strange,
It's
but also
very
in
strange.
that whole thing is coral. They used a lot of
Mhm.
orange coral that is natural. We don't use much natural coral anymore. A lot of what you see is dyed now
Mhm.
to get that really dark red
Right.
appearance.
Right.
Um, so you really need to, if you're buying something like that, you need to buy it from someone that really understands what they're selling.
So,
They're
so also talking about antiques, just because jewelry is made of plastic doesn't mean it's cheap jewelry,
That's right,
right? So
right.
like I know, especially during the Art Deco and
Celluloid jewelry.
celluloid jewelry became a
Hmm.
really popular thing. So you might in your yard sale slash flea market slash auction
Hmm.
house travels might find plastic jewelry, but that
That's
plastic
right.
jewelry could be very
Very valuable
worthwhile,
because,
right?
Bakelite is another one that
Mhm.
they made jewelry out of. Um, Jaded glass, which was very popular in the 1930s. They would make beads out of those and mix it with jet.
Mhm.
So, just because a piece of jewelry isn't a gem, it still could have a lot of value to it.
Mhm.
It really, you need to talk to somebody if, and I think that this happens a lot with estates. People, they go in, they see their mother's jewelry box or their grandmother's jewelry box or whatever, and they go through it and they're like, oh, there's nothing any good here.
Mhm.
But
Right.
you don't really know that until somebody really assesses it that understands jewelry, because
Right.
there can be a piece of jewelry they they made little cupid dolls, um, charms. There
Mhm.
are charms that are made out of plastic that used to come in cereal that are now very valuable. I mean, there are so many things. I've seen it happen where families start throwing out because they think, oh, I got to clean up all this mess. And I'm going to digress a little bit from jewelry for a minute,
Mhm.
because one of the other things that I am is an auctioneer. So I see people, oh, I have to clean up before the auctioneer comes,
Mhm.
and they would throw out advertising material, or they would throw out the plastic jewelry thinking that it's just junk and I
Where
can
the box
dispose.
the watch came in, like they
Oh,
had
right.
the box the watch came in and they throw
Some
the
of the
box out.
boxes, the jewelry boxes are worth more than the actual
I
jewelry.
actually saw a gentleman on what's the show? Oh my God, I lost it. Antiques
Antique Road.
Roadshow. And it was his Rolex watch. Like he bought the Rolex watch in the
Hmm.
60s and he never really wore it because it was too fancy and it was something he always wanted, but he bought it. So he had the bill of sale, the box, the
Hmm.
instructions, the original case that came in, and then the little box that was in inside, and then of course this perfectly working, beautiful Rolex.
Hmm.
And the guy from Antiques Roadshow like had a stroke over the packaging
Yeah.
because it was the entire thing, and we're
Hmm.
talking it turned into going from one level to another level because he
Right.
had everything about it and it was 50 years old.
Right.
So don't throw away your packaging.
No, no, no. And sterling silver is another thing. You know, I always think of when I think of vintage jewelry, there are accessory like things that kind of fall into that same thing, like calling card cases were made out of materials that jewelry would be made out of.
You know what
Sterling,
I have a pair of that I
what?
love, and I wore them actually to my wedding. I have shoe clips.
I love shoe clips.
Shoe clips, and people might not know they exist, but I bought like just beautiful white high heel, like cream color high heels to match my dress, and I put my something blue was these beautiful antique carved shoe clips,
Hmm.
and they're just so cool. And that's something that I have, and also the hair combs, also beautiful.
Yes. I have a sterling silver match case.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a little box,
Mm-hmm.
but you would fill it with wooden matches, and on the bottom is the striker plate. So there are so many cool things, and I am a lover of flea markets. Everybody that knows me knows I love to go to a flea market, and you'll see me going through, and I go to those places where the plastic beads are to
Mm-hmm.
see. And
And then there's the more exotic stuff that we don't necessarily see anymore. So
mhm,
like it's not something that somebody went out and tortured an animal these days to get. This is old stuff. So
right,
there's tortoise shell
right,
and there's ivory,
right.
so those things are still floating about out there.
Mhm. There's
Uh,
also like very unique pieces that um silver, copper. There's some really cool copper jewelry that, there are famous makers that make the stuff. But, if it's passed down through through the family and nobody appreciated it, it winds up at the flea market. You can find some very cool things in copper.
so if you are looking through grandma's stuff or you're out shopping, what are
Mhm.
some things to look for that might make a piece more valuable than another?
Okay, so on the piece itself, and if you can't see it, magnifying glass sometimes helps, but you want to look for maybe a maker's name or initials. Usually handmade, like even the Indian jewelry, if it has a maker's name on it or maker's initials, sometimes it'll have a date on it. Um, you want to look for 925 on silver. That means it's sterling silver. 900 can also be silver, but it's not sterling. It's not as pure. You want to look for on gold like 18K, 14K, 10K, or you want to look for numbers like 585, 750. Those will designate also gold, because other countries like in Italy, they aren't going to put those numbers on it. They're going to put 750, 585 for 14 karat or 18 karat gold. So, you want to, if you see a number, if you see a name, if you see any sort of like little stamping on it, because in Europe they will put hallmarks in jewelry rather than, and that will tell who made it, when it was made, what year it was made, what it's made out of. It can tell all kinds of things if you see hallmarks. If you see a name on it, like if it's costume, if you see a name, for instance, Weiss, Weiss is a very well known costume jewelry company that made incredible, like those big sparkly pins and earrings.
Yeah. Actually, I had those big sparkly pins in the 80s, only I bought
Hmm.
mine at the antique flea market. They weren't from
Hmm.
JCPenney's or whatnot. And I was just looking at one. I have a really big one that I used to wear
Hmm.
on my like overcoat,
Hmm.
and it's gorgeous. And I was just looking at it going, boy, this is the coolest thing. But it was, it's
Yeah.
like that big.
Yeah.
And
I blew one like that. That was my grandmother gave it to my mother. My dad's mother gave it to my mother for Christmas one year, and it's a big blue teardrop, and I love it. I don't really wear it now, but I do love it.
So what was the nicest piece? Because I know you've bought a lot of jewelry over the years. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to ask given to you. I'm going to say, what's the nicest piece of jewelry you ever bought for yourself that you
Uh,
love? It doesn't necessarily have to be the most expensive, just what you love.
I bought a platinum and diamond cocktail ring
Hmm.
that was an engagement ring. It had mine cut diamonds in it, several little diamonds around it. And I just love that ring. It's a beautiful ring. I have that. And I also love, I have an 18 karat gold band ring that's Victorian that looks like a buckle. That's probably one of my very favorite pieces.
I have a lot of because I told you I like grab things
Hmm.
to save them from disappearing. I have a lot of jewelry that is like hand-me-down stuff, but when I was 13, my grandmother gave me a ring with a sapphire, my birthstone, and two tiny
Hmm.
diamonds on either side. That was my 13th birthday. That ring is the my favorite thing that I've ever jewelry-wise ever had. Is that
Well, and that's something that I always told people when they would come in the jewelry store, if they don't want a diamond, that they should go towards either a ruby or a sapphire. They're the same
Mhm.
material, but
It's just
different
the
color.
prettiest ring, and that
Hmm.
dark blue,
Yep,
it's just so pretty.
it's
But it
also
was the
my
fact that
birthstone.
that was my you know, you're a big girl ring and you're a
Hmm.
teenager now and I just really love getting I have a really funny story to tell.
Okay.
I was in elementary school and I always loved jewelry, right? So my big nana, my great grandmother, and had costume jewelry, right?
Hmm.
And she had this fake diamond ring, glass,
Well,
glass. You know what I mean? And she used to let me play with it all the time. Well,
mm,
once I pocketed it because I wanted to keep it with me, you know. So I wore it to school, second grade. The teacher calls my grandmother. Hi, Mrs. Haney. I'm really sorry to bother you, but Holly wore a diamond ring to school today. And my grandmother's like, what? Like, what? Yeah. And then by the time I got home and it was all kind of settled down, it was the fake ring. It was the
ah,
fake ring, but I gotta say, what I learned from that was you don't necessarily need to have real jewelry to have people think you have real jewelry.
oh, that's
You know what
absolutely
I mean? Like
true.
I learned that a long time ago. Like,
And I will say that one of the things that I have learned is that sometimes in some situations it's better to not wear your real jewelry. A lot of
right.
people, like when they're
Mhm.
going on a cruise, or if they're going over, going out of the
Overseas. Yep.
country, they don't take their real jewelry. They will come in, they will buy something that looks nice, but
Hmm.
it's absolutely fake. It's under $100, and
Right.
they can wear it for the trip and never wear it again.
Yeah.
But they have that feeling of having their jewelry on. Most people don't know the difference.
Yeah. 5 or 6 years ago, my husband bought me diamond earrings. I think I've worn them
Mhm.
twice. Why? Because I think they're going to disappear from my ears. Like I'm going to lose one, So
They, okay,
I don't really wear them.
so we're going to go back to the you can have them redone, which
Hmm.
means that you can actually have a screw-on post put on them that has
Okay.
that screws on, or
Hmm.
there's these compression nuts.
The clippy
You,
ones.
you squeeze them and can push them on, but to get them off, you have to twist
Hmm.
them or
Okay.
squeeze that thing.
Yeah.
Um, so,
So I get that. Like you don't want to lose it, and you also don't want to get robbed or injured because of it, right? You're
right.
walking down a foreign country street, going to the
Well,
restaurant from your hotel,
I would
not knowing where
definitely,
you are, and somebody wants to rip the thing off your neck.
well, I've traveled a lot, and I have to say that one of the things, um, I wear a lot of costume jewelry when I'm traveling, and it doesn't matter if it's in the country or out of the country. But sterling silver earrings most of the time.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I I never wore anything sparkly because you don't want to attract
Right.
the view of somebody that wants to do you harm.
Whenever
And
I ever went on a cruise or something, the jewelry I would take in my little jewelry pouch would always be costume jewelry. It would
it
match the outfits and look really cute and all
yep,
that, but
best
if
thing.
the housekeeper stole it or I dropped it somewhere in the sand, it wouldn't matter.
And I have to say, unfortunately, years and years ago, I did have a housekeeper that liked to steal things. She of course, once I figured it out, she was no longer in our employee, but she had a pair of one of the things I love about Native American jewelry is that you can usually buy it from the artist for not, it's not a huge amount of money, but the quality is so incredible. And I had this beautiful pair of unusual earrings, and I saw them on her one day, and I went, "Gee, those are my earrings." "Oh no, my daughter gave them to me. She brought them to me from California." And I was dumb enough to think, "Oh, the guy must have lied to me. They weren't one of a kind," but come to find out they really were. So, you never know who might steal it from you.
There you go. I mean, I think we've covered a lot tonight. If you guys have any questions about your jewelry or specific questions about a piece of jewelry or something you need to do to care for it, you can absolutely ask Sara. You can comment here, you can message us, whatever, send a carrier pigeon, we'll figure it out, and Sara will answer the question for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Pretty much if it's jewelry, she knows about it, So thank you for sharing all of that wisdom with us tonight. That was a lot of information, and I think it was very helpful. I personally think that if I follow a little bit, I'll be able to wear my jewelry a little bit more than I do now. So,
well, and that's one thing to think about and remember about your jewelry is that it doesn't do you or anyone else any good sitting in your jewelry box. Wear it. And my little piece of wisdom coming through COVID and before is, we have a good friend, Sandy Ketkar, who has been on the show. And she said to me one day, every day is a celebration and you should treat it as such. And she said, that means put your jewelry on, get the candles out, eat the cake. And we do that. So, like tonight I have my earrings on. I got out of wearing it a bit through COVID, but I think that we need to put our makeup on and put our earrings on and feel good about ourselves still.
I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We had a good time talking to each other. We hope you enjoyed the information. We want to thank our sponsor, brokersrealty.com of Stroudsburg. They bring us to you every week. Every week we have a fun new topic, and we hope you have something to say about it. Everybody have a great night. Stay safe and stay warm.